Hello and welcome to the Weekly Reel podcast. My name is Ken,
And my name is Jeremy.
and this week we get to talk about arguably the biggest team up in terms of literal sheer size in all of cinema history. Well, 3 years ago we got a Clash of the Titans, but this week we get a Titans Assemble moment in the next installment of the Warner Brothers Monsterverse. Godzilla X Kong, the new empire. But yeah, Jeremy, I'm pretty excited to talk about a movie that where the previous installment was a movie that we actually covered here in the podcast. Just shows how long we've actually been doing this.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I was like, oh, did we cover the last one? It's like, yeah, we did. Did we cover the first Godzilla 2014? We did not. We don't. Our podcast isn't 10 years old at this point, but we have been doing it long enough now that we can actually reference previous episodes. Do I remember what I gave Godzilla versus Kong? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I gave it a pretty decent score because I think I still like it. So the question is, did I like this one as much? I guess you'll see.
Ooh, yeah, we'll find out. I love the teaser for later on in the episode, especially since we've dedicated a new segment for that particular sort of deal. So, but yeah, I actually don't remember what I gave Godzilla versus Kong, but today we are talking about Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. But before we get into today's episode, Jeremy, we have a live audience with us, don't we?
Yes. So everyone that's watching right now, or if you're listening currently on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we also have a YouTube channel. That's where we stream live, um, usually at night, usually around 7 Pacific time, usually. But if you're in the chat right now, or if you're watching us live, feel free to comment and just let us know what you think about this movie. When we talk about the double feature, throw out different questions, feel free to answer it in the comments. And after we talk about Godzilla versus Kong or Godzilla X Kong, then we're going to be talking about some other fun topics, such
Yes,
as, more kaiju films. So more
yeah,
teasers to come. So participate as much as possible. You're
yeah,
not in a classroom, guys. It's fine.
yeah. Well, don't be afraid to spam us with good questions and comments because, again, just like Jeremy said, we'll go ahead and respond to or address or highlight any of those comments or questions. So please, again, like Jeremy said, don't be shy. Don't be shy. But I mean, for those of you who have joined the live stream, you've joined for at least half the reason. And that reason is we're covering a movie. And before we cover that movie, let's issue that spoiler warning. So, for those of you who haven't seen this week's movie, Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, I guess now would be a good time to kind of, well, do it. I mean, we actually have a regular Sean. Um, we won't highlight his comment just yet, but I remember last week for the Roadhouse episode, he was like, "I'll be back in 30 minutes. Let me finish the movie." And sure enough, after 30 minutes, he popped back on and he was able to kind of interact with us. So if you're in that same boat this week with Godzilla X Kong, I know it's a little bit harder with a movie that's out in theaters,
I'll be back in 30
but
minutes.
yeah, come back in 30 minutes. But yeah, I mean, for those of you who are listening to the audio version of this, now's the time to hit pause, watch the movie, and then come back and join in on the episode discussion. But this week, the mysteries of Hollow Earth surface in such a major way that Kong finds himself needing to recruit the services of his former nemesis in Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. And that movie, again, just like I alluded, is out now in theaters. And it's actually doing really well, right, Jeremy?
I think so. I actually haven't heard too much about like box office and stuff.
Oh,
People that I've
surprise.
talked to about it, yeah. The people that I've talked to said they haven't seen it yet.
Mm.
I don't know.
I caught a little bit of it, and I thought you may have at least caught the little tidbit that I got, it actually made a lot in the domestic box office and did well worldwide. It did over 80 million domestically, and I think over 160 or something like that worldwide. Don't fact check me on that, but let's just say it did better than expectations.
I'm not
Um,
surprised. It seems like a very fun movie. Who doesn't want to see Kong and Godzilla team up and stuff? So it is
they're
what it
just
is.
they're just wrecking stuff. But yes, let's get right into this week's movie. And to do that, let's go right into our double feature. And so, just to remind our audience, the double feature is the segment where I have a question, then Jeremy doesn't know what I'm going to ask, and vice versa. Jeremy has a question for me that I have no idea what he's going to ask. And so, for this week's, or for my half of the double feature, I should say, this season, season 7 of our podcast is our first season without a staple for the first 6 seasons. We actually kind of scrapped the weekly reel awards, and
Mm-hmm.
so in a way, I'm bringing it back for my half of the double feature. And I like to focus on the positive a little bit. So, Jeremy, if we were gonna give out the Avengers Assemble award for favorite scene, which scene was your favorite?
Ooh, okay. Easily, first one that pops out has to be that fight scene in the near, I guess, in the final battle sequence when they're in Hollow Earth and they're kind of like losing gravity and they're all just flying around. Honestly, that was pretty cool. That was a good way of like having the fight a little bit more dynamic. Godzilla's doing his own thing. Kong is versing the Scar King. I was gonna call him Scar, but I was like, oh, that's Lion King. Sorry, Mufasa. But with Godzilla, he's versing the other like kind of How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, yeah, I
But
forgot to keep track of that name. Shoot, hold on,
um,
let me look it up.
yeah. But Godzilla's versing the other kaiju, the white kaiju thing that like spits ice and frost and stuff. I thought that was cool because at the same time, I would have liked Godzilla to fight the Scar King, and I get it, they're like mirrors of each other or something like that. But yeah, uh, Sean, I'm gonna pull up your comment right quick. It says that slow mo shot when all four jumped at each other, though, and you know exactly what I thought of was the shot of in Spider-Man No Way Home
Yeah,
when, when the three Spider-Mans and the Spider-Man villains, Lizard, Doc Ock, not Doc Ock, uh,
no, it was oh my goodness,
Lizard,
Sandman,
Sandman.
Sand, yeah,
Wasn't there one more?
yeah, it was
Electro. There you go.
Electro. Yeah, I was like, I kept wanting to say Jamie Foxx.
Yeah,
I was
Jamie
like, that's
Foxx is
not it.
just he's just jumping around. But yeah,
Yeah,
probably that scene where just kind of anti gravity. I think it was probably the most creative fight sequence in this movie.
it also, and bringing it back to the WWE, like we so often like to do, is it just reminded me of a pretty epic way to do a teaser for like a WrestleMania like mixed tag match because
Oh,
again you had like again to your point Kong versus Scar King, and I looked it up. Godzilla was going up against Shimu, the guy.
Shimu.
Shimu was the one that was basically freezing everything.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think that's how you say it.
Shamu.
Yeah, Shimu. Shimu. But
Okay.
yeah, that was a pretty cool shot. And yeah, I got No Way Home vibes when they did the whole slow motion thing. Cause that was like a big part of that trailer for No Way Home. It's like, wait, like who are they fighting? Why are there three Spider-Men just jumping at or three villains jumping at three random people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, pretty sure CGI up in here. Okay.
Hmm. But no, I that was a pretty cool action sequence for sure. Actually, for my Avengers Assemble award winner, if we were giving one out today, was actually one of the earlier fights, and it was for strictly for comedic purposes because obviously we get to kind of catch up in Hollow Earth. Kong, just kind of we basically kind of catch up with him, and all of a sudden he runs into some other, I guess, of
Oh,
his species, and he's like, "What?" And I would assume that all this time between Godzilla versus Kong, where we get introduced to Hollow Earth, to the beginning of this film, he was just feeling lonely and he was looking for some sort of companionship.
just looking
And
for a little
he,
bit of Mushu.
yeah, a little bit of Mushu, exactly. But wow, I'll stick at something else. But anyway, um,
Okay.
obviously we run into I forget the name of the little monkey or whatever.
Yeah.
He was huge compared to everyone else, but compared to Kong, he was little.
Yeah.
Uh, but he was like, oh, he was like kind of cute, and all of a sudden, he basically turns on him, bites his finger, and he's like, what the heck? And all of a sudden, these other monkeys come in to surround him, and they're about to attack him. Obviously, they're like led by the Scar King, we later find out. But that whole little fight or whatever, especially when he freaking grabs the little monkey and
Yeah.
like basically uses him as a weapon, dude, I lost it. It
I love
was
that.
so good.
Yeah, I was dying when one of the other random monkeys was like hanging off the edge, and Kong's a pretty good dude, so he helps him back up. And the guy tries to stab him, so he kicks him off the ledge, does a Sparta kick on him right now. So yeah, 300 kick right there. I love that.
Sparta.
Honestly, I thought that little monkey was a little annoying.
Mm,
So,
he
so when
was.
he was hitting him around and using him as a weapon, I did like that. It's like little Amon.
So so did I. I was like, oh, are we gonna get a contender? But then they ended up being pals later on. So I was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, because Sean says Kong legit Loki'd that little guy, slamming him to other monkeys. Yeah, totally. That's what reminded me of Hulk just swinging Loki around. So that's why he doesn't want to fight him anymore.
That was so
Sean
good.
also said Godzilla fighting Kong at the pyramids was like a WWE match. Okay, so I want to address this really quick. I didn't feel like it was like well, besides the suplex. I I was thinking about Batman versus Superman because exactly, it's like when Superman goes to Gotham City and Batman's there waiting for him in his armored suit, and in this case, Godzilla's Batman, and he's like, oh, or yeah, he's like, Godzilla's like just on a rampage. Kong is Superman. He's like, oh wait, we have to go fight, and we need to team up. But then Kong Batman is just like, oh no, and then Mothra, we're gonna make that joke again. And then yeah, literally, Mothra shows up.
Why'd you say that name?
Why'd you say that name? And Kong is like, oh, Godzilla's like, oh, I get it now, just like Batman. And
Yeah.
yeah, that wasn't the best fight in the movie. It was cool, just to see them interacting again. But man, like I told Ken, right, coming right out of the theater, Godzilla can't shoot his atomic breath for crap. It's like he's just blasting it everywhere. So I'm like,
Pause.
man, exactly. I'm like, Godzilla, calm down.
But no, I agree. I did get BVS vibes on in that interaction because even like right at the very very beginning of that whole interaction, you get Godzilla standing on the Rock of Gibraltar, pretending like he's Batman. He was looking for a fight. He was ready. I was like, oh, and then to your point, obviously Kong was there for a reason. He was trying to lure him down to the Hollow Earth to get his help. And honestly, that was my main curious it was the thing that I was most curious about the entire movie because obviously we both saw the trailer and I was like, okay, they're teaming up. How are they going to team up? And so I guess a follow-up question is how did I mean, I'm sure you were thinking about it
Hmm.
also. How it actually went down? How did that meet your expectations?
I was pretty underwhelmed, honestly. I think it was too like contrived. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was like, oh, like okay, I was gonna save this for the dailies, but honestly, Godzilla didn't need to be in this movie
Damn it.
for and I love Godzilla. Like screw Kong, Godzilla's the best.
Yeah.
But in this movie, for the storyline that they chose, he did not need to be in this movie. For the like 3/4 of this movie, uh freaking Godzilla is just being Batman, being a vigilante around the globe,
Hmm.
like taking down monsters like
Hmm.
through newscast, and that was about it. It's like he's not very integral to the plot. They were just keeping him around until the last act of the movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. For the story that they chose to tell, I completely agree with you 100%. I feel like if they were going to do a total team up between the two, the two Titans, and obviously we later get Mothra as a third variable, I think it should have been something where, because you got to remember at the we already got that movie Godzilla versus Kong 3 years ago where they fought a couple of times, and they fought to the point where obviously Mecha Godzilla. Wait, is
Yeah.
I Mecha Godzilla? Yeah, I
Yes.
just blanked out for a sec. Was obviously had Godzilla on the ropes, and eventually Kong got revived or whatever. Spoiler for Godzilla versus Kong, and obviously they went two on one. We already saw that whole like Clash of the Titans sort of thing, and I
Hmm.
feel like they already came to an understanding. I didn't think they needed to be like, oh, alpha, like both alphas needing to, hey, Godzilla was like, oh, why are you in on the surface? I need to, you know, exert my alpha ness. I didn't think
Yeah.
they needed to do that.
You know what they should have done? They should have done this like Avengers style, where the last movie was like an Avengers movie, and
Mm,
then we have some independent movies of them two again. This could have easily been a Kong movie. You
mm,
have another Godzilla movie, and then you have like another team up movie again,
yeah,
where it's Godzilla x Kong, and you have a good reason for them to come back to each other and team up. But this time it was just like, oh, they're teaming up again, kind of.
yeah.
So, yeah, honestly, the reason why they teamed up before and the way it was done in the last one was much better.
I think so because it was more organic. Because, well, first of all, you got Gia telling Kong what to do.
Yeah. Sean also said Godzilla with the Kenergy this movie though. That's true. He is very pink. I don't know how I felt about that. I mean, he let go of all that radiation by the very end. So,
Pause. I'm just kidding.
yeah, it's like mm, it was pent up, and then he let it all go. All right. My half of double feature on that
Yes,
note.
please.
So you brought up Mecha Godzilla, and thinking about it now, that movie was like, oh, that's an anti Godzilla. It's Mecha Godzilla. Now in this movie, we're getting an anti Kong
Hmm.
with the Scar King. Which villain did you actually prefer? So it's almost like that our old weekly real award, like worst, the Malekith Award, where it's like who's the worst villain.
Who was the worst villain, or do you want me to choose the villain that I prefer?
I choose the one you prefer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. In the interest of being transparent, when we watched it last Thursday on opening night, I hadn't watched Godzilla versus Kong in 3 years since the pod,
Hmm.
so I forgot large chunks of that movie. Actually, most of it. So when I came in watching this movie, I was like, man, you know what? I forgot a lot, and I probably didn't appreciate it the first time around. And so in I actually watched it a second time yesterday.
Oh, nice.
But before that, I watched Godzilla versus Kong the day before that. And I was like, Huh. Okay. Now I remember what's going on, and it just connected the dots. So, to answer your question, I prefer Mechagodzilla, and here's why: the human element. Um, it basically is like a metaphor for uh kind of like humans meddling where they shouldn't, and they should have trusted Godzilla to be the protector of the surface world, but they didn't, and they had ulterior motives, even though the humans were kind of like villains of the week, kind of generic vanilla like.
Yeah,
I understand what they were trying to do. Evil Corporation it's super like
cliche.
uh cliche, yeah. But I I think the way it was executed was much smoother, and it was better. And actually Mechagodzilla, I feel like, presented more of a threat to Godzilla versus Scar King with Kong, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like my I was like, I'm trying to think of what was Scar King's motivation? It's not like you want to go up to the surface level, right?
Um oh shoot, what
Like
was
he,
it? Well, he was, I think Scar King was perceived to be like way old, I think. And I think he was the one that Godzilla was actually beefing with in Hollow Earth to begin with,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he wanted to come up to the surface, to rule there too, I think.
True. And but then all these like portal things were closed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it was I don't know. It was pretty convenient how it's like, oh, Kong's the only one that they allow through, but then Scar King is just like chilling all the time, not allowing to go through the portal.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I need to rewatch Skull Island again because I kind of forget how he ends up there, and the rest of the his kind got left in Hollow Earth, and obviously we didn't know Hollow Earth existed until 2021.
Yeah.
So I should have done a full MonsterVerse rewatch, but I stuck to just watching the previous one.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a lot of movies, and some of
Yeah.
them aren't the best, and
Hmm.
we might talk about that a little bit later. More
Yeah.
teases for you all. Sean says was pretty cool that Ghidorah's mind was the one to control Mecha and tried to get revenge on Godzilla. Scarf King just got banished and wanted to go to the surface.
Yeah.
So, and then he says, so I'd say Mecha Godzilla was better. I also agree. Mecha Godzilla, he looked cooler. His weapons were better. Scar King just had like a whip, like he was Catwoman or something. I don't know. I don't know what I thought of that.
He could have used Indiana Jones.
Okay, yeah. We were
He's
talking about
Catwoman.
Batman, and then I thought about the other Batman. I don't know. Indiana Jones. Okay, we'll go with that.
Holly Berry.
Oh yeah,
Catwoman.
I was not thinking Halle Berry's. I was thinking Michelle Pfeiffer. Didn't she have a whip? Right?
She
Pretty
had a
sure.
whip. Yeah. I don't
Okay.
think the
I don't
other
think I've ever
the
seen
most
Halle Berry's. Nor do I want to. I've seen clips on YouTube. I think that was enough.
I'm kind of curious about it now.
Go watch
How
the
bad can
clips.
it be? Well, that's another topic for another day. Holy crap. Um anyway, that was the double feature, and we this season, I should say, we introduced a brand new segment to the Weekly Reel podcast, and that segment is called The Dailies. And this is where we have just raw, uncut, just random thoughts that we want to just, I don't know, talk about. So, Jeremy, do you have any items, or any daily items, I should say?
Okay. I want to bring up. well, the first one, Trapper, Dan Stevens' character.
Yeah.
Um, he was pretty much just discount Star Lord the entire movie. It's like just the same type of humor, probably dressed the same way as Star Lord
He
would
had the
if he
Milano. He was driving the Milano.
exactly. It's like, oh, he just like goes around. He's like a vet to these Titans, but he was basically a discount Star Lord. Not saying he
He
was
had his
bad.
his Bluetooth head little speaker to play soundtrack.
Exactly, with the music going on. I was like, okay, this is clearly just a rip off Star Lord. Kind of like, oh, they couldn't get Chris Pratt, so they had this guy. No offense to Dan Stevens, and it was fine. It's not like he was okay. I want to say none of the characters in this movie were like annoying.
Hmm.
Everyone was just okay, which is bad in itself because I think that's always been the weakness of these movies has been the human element. um,
Agreed.
Whereas in the show Monarch, which I've only watched 2 episodes, has done much better in developing human characters and actually talk like humans and interact like humans than the movies. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if this is a hot take. I kind of enjoyed Dan Stevens as Trapper. I thought I would hate him because his name was Trapper, and it reminded me of wait, what was that one dude that I hated in
Spider.
Spider? Trapper, Spider, same difference, but I think his introduction just won me over. It was that love at first sight. Not that I love Dan Stevens slash Trapper, but dude, like the way he was introduced as Kong's orthodontist, and then he started singing or lip syncing. I don't know what he was doing. I just was like,
Hmm.
oh my god, this guy is over the top. You know what? I'm here for it.
Yeah, see
I thought he was pretty interesting. He was
him
probably
and
the most interesting out of all the human characters.
Fastos, Bernie
Yeah.
were probably the best characters.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I thought Bernie lost a little steam because I felt like he carried his momentum coming off of Godzilla versus Kong, carried it over nicely in the beginning. Obviously, you know, you get that little bit of continuity with his podcast and everything. And then obviously they got the shared experience in Hong Kong, even though they were on different parts of the I guess the story,
Hmm.
in the ways that they contributed with Eileen Andrews. But I felt like as the movie went along, I felt like Fastos just drifted off into the background. Like
That's
he was
true.
just like whatever to me.
Yeah, he was just comedic relief pretty much.
Hmm.
Yeah, because Sean says Bernie trying to get footage for his blog was pretty funny though.
Oh yeah, that yeah. And see, that's where I thought he was still entertaining. Like
Yeah.
when he was he was narrating, and then it's like, bro, I'm filming.
What's weird is like his camcorder footage looked like it was not good quality. I was like, what the heck is this? And dude, zoom out. You're like your like your whole frame is just your face and your nose, man.
Yeah,
Um
he was using a DV camera.
yeah, I don't understand. It was definitely I looked at it. I was like, that's clearly a digital Sony camera. And I don't think they
480p,
were
bro.
yeah, and wasn't I don't know if this movie's also Apple TV Plus, just like the TV show, but
Warner Brothers, bro.
Warner Brothers, yeah. So yeah, I don't know, just nitpicks in terms of content makers ourselves. I was like, man, if you're filming around and you're narrating, how are you gonna cut this later? You have to like, yeah, I don't even know. It's like you get the raw shot first, and then you can narrate it over it later.
Yeah, the voiceover.
Nitpicks. Uh,
Yeah, he was.
yeah, Sean says Trapper was the goat of the film. Was he though? No, I'm just
He
kidding.
was. Come on, man. I think you're being too harsh on Trapper.
No,
And
yeah,
this
he
from a
was
guy that
decent.
hated Spider and also hated Onamon.
Yes, and if no one remembers who they are, that's the both kids from Black Adam and Avatar: The Way of Water. Figure out which one's which. We don't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
How about you? Any other dailies?
Dailies? Yeah. I mean, we already kind of mentioned a couple of like random callbacks to other IP franchise. Which one was your favorite out of all the ones that we just ended up catching? Well, we had the BVS kind of like similarities. We got the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of
Mm-hmm.
similarities. Um,
Dude.
when they were kind of charging, like with both. Oh no, it was the three of them, right? It was Mothra, Godzilla, and Kong when they were running towards like the action. It reminded me of the Infinity War trailer where we never got to see Hulk.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Oh,
think that one
shoot.
was my favorite, by the way.
You like that one where they're running towards the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. I like. Okay, this is just like because you mentioned this when they were in Rio, was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that shot, and I was like, you're like, dude, imagine if Vin Diesel comes out of nowhere. I'm like, dude, like I hate Fast and Furious, like especially like the last three movies or whatever.
just because it got
Um,
stale.
yeah, I don't, it's like
This
I don't
would
hate all the
reinvigorate
movies.
it.
Yeah, I was like, oh shoot, I would love to see that because honestly, to be honest, this movie was dragging a lot. So
Mm.
For Vin Diesel to show up in his muscle car would
Fam.
just be would be insane. And then like Mothra would pick him up and throw him towards the Scar King, but then the Scar King would like whip him out and he just hit him across, but then Vin Diesel would still be alive even though he hit the wall like 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be
And
cool.
he'd be perfectly baby old, and then his car would still be unscratched
Yeah, he's like,
and
oh,
still drivable.
you know what you don't have, Scar King? You don't have the streets. Oh shoot! Sean also says Optimus Prime pulling up with Vin Diesel too. Yeah, Vin Diesel inside Optimus Prime sounds weird again, but yeah, maybe okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anymore. I was gonna say on top of Optimus Prime, Vin Diesel does his own thing with the Optimus Prime. That'd be
you
crazy.
know, I actually thought this next thing that I'm about to say at the during a trailer. I remember this. Obviously, this is before the movie was released, but that one scene, and they showed it during the movie where Kong's emerging from Hollow Earth up in Cairo, but he's got his Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah,
Obviously, that's another Thanos um,
reference.
reference, but actually, the little callback, the thing that I was thinking was, hey, wait, is that Bumblebee? At first, when I saw it, I
Uh
was like, wait, is this a Transformers movie? Oh wait, no, it's Godzilla, Godzilla X Kong. Damn it! But I kind of got some Transformer vibes. So Sean mentioning Optimus Prime kind of reminded me of like my initial thoughts on the trailer when it first came out.
Dude, what kind of baffles me though is that how indestructible that arm really was, and it was made by humans
Mm-hmm.
that didn't even make like Mega Godzilla was like super strong, but dang, this thing is just like a regular gauntlet looking thing
Yeah.
for Kong. So I
I
don't know.
wonder. Well, because okay, going back to the very beginning of this movie, where I thought it was pretty funny that the catalyst for Kong returning to the surface world was because he had a toothache.
Oh yeah,
um, and then remember they replaced it with a like that too. I want to say it's the same. I think I saw a YouTube breakdown on it. They use that same material from the heaves from Godzilla versus Kong, the spaceships that can withstand all the pressure to get into Hollow Earth. And so basically that tooth is indestructible. So I'm kind of curious if it's some of the same material on his Infinity Gauntlet.
true. Because Sean said that gauntlet got bit, scratched up, iced up, was pretty much indestructible. Yeah, man, he was pretty much Bucky Barnes at that point, Winter Soldier, when he would like use it to block stuff. So
Hmm.
he's like, he has a metal arm now.
Yeah. He just needed Infinity Stones.
Yeah, to snap everything away.
Oh man. I did have one more item that I wrote down for the dailies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually the reason why I went back to my Godzilla versus Kong notes as something that I mentioned to Jeremy offline right before we went online. Do you? I asked it 3 years ago. I'm going to ask it right now. I'm like, do you think we'll ever get that MonsterVerse and Pacific Rim universe like merging or whatever?
I
That
would love
crossover
that.
event.
Shoot, I would love that. I love Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
And I hope they do it eventually because I want to see like Gypsy Danger and Godzilla team up. But they gotta fight first.
Yeah.
That's just how naturally always is. You got humans, but in this case, you finally would have humans that aren't useless. And bring back frickin' I forget his name from the first Pacific Rim, but frickin' the guy from Sons of Anarchy, Charlie Hunnam. There we go.
Yes.
Bring him
Yes.
back
Yes.
and have him fight Godzilla and Kong.
That'd be so sick if they can somehow do that. But yeah, it'd probably have to be another tag team match.
Yeah, it's like who at this point who are they gonna verse?
Then
Mothra.
Mothra's Mothra's guest referee.
Yeah, pretty much. You need to fight Doomsday.
Why'd you say her name? Oh, I think we got
Oh,
one more comment.
okay.
It says talking about the metal tooth. If I was Kong, I wouldn't let Scar King open my mouth, see my new tooth, and get the whole squad to laugh at me.
Dang. Pretty much, man. I don't know why that tooth was black. It's like I thought for some reason I thought Kong was about to have a gold tooth for some reason.
I say, you know what? If you're gonna have one, you might as well just replace them all. Just do a grill.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Especially for Kong.
Show me a grill. Oh my god, it's so good. Anyway, let's go from one news segment to another news segment. I think we've talked a lot about this movie, but I'm curious to know how Jeremy actually thinks in terms of metrics. This is the real review.
Okay, so Godzilla, X Kong, the New Empire. Title's too long, but it's definitely not as good as the last movie, Godzilla versus Kong. The fight scenes not as good. They're still pretty fun. None of them beat any of the fight scenes that happen in Godzilla versus Kong, where you have the like aircraft carrier fight scene, the other fight scene in the city. Those are still probably one of the best fight scenes in the franchise so far. In this movie, the human story is not good. It's pretty boring. It's not cringy at all. It's just it drags a lot. At times I felt like I wanted to fall asleep during this movie. I'd prefer the tone of the Monarch TV show to really like translate into these movies, kind of that tension, the scariness of these monsters. Because right now they're seen as like these big heroes, but honestly, Godzilla and Kong are just like wiping through cities, and we don't get to see any of the ground level terror that we get to see in movies like Godzilla Minus One or the TV show Monarch, which are very recent. So there's no excuse not to have that type of stuff in here. This feels like more of a Fast and Furious movie in terms of the tone. When I talk about Fast and Furious, more of the newer ones, the ones that aren't good. um, Godzilla does nothing in this movie, nothing of substance, at least. Easily could have been a Kong movie. So I am going a 1530 out of 3,000, 51% for Godzilla X Kong.
Ooh, harsh.
Whew.
That was a great review. Dang,
Thank
that was
you.
very thorough.
Oh, I was running out of breath.
It was really good. But wow. I was surprised to hear that number. That you did not like it? Well, I guess shouldn't
It
be
was
surprised. You did
okay.
have you did have some long blinks.
Yeah. So, and you saw me fully recline.
That's right.
You're like, oh man, you fully reclined. I'm like, yeah, it's that movie.
Yeah, that was not a good sign. Let's just say Jeremy was not at the edge of his seat.
I was all the way in the back of my seat, apparently.
Oh man. Well, for my real review, I wanted to like this movie. I really did. For a lot of the movie, I was pretty entertained, but there was something missing. Oh yeah, that something was Godzilla. Are you going to call this movie Godzilla X Kong the New Empire and not have the A side of the headliner missing in action for large chunks of this movie? You know, for me as a Godzilla shill, I love Godzilla. I'll get into that the next part of this episode. But this movie really was a sequel to Kong Skull Island, and it probably should have been called Kong Hollow Earth or something like that, or even Kong the New Empire. There really shouldn't have been a Godzilla appearance or Mothra or whoever. Maybe Mothra or something like that, just because we haven't seen her in a while. But the human element, to Jeremy's point, was kind of a dud. It was hit or miss, but mostly miss. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I was surprisingly entertained by Trapper from his introduction, as he was, Kong's personal orthodontist. But sadly, after a pretty strong start, the stuff with Eileen Andrews and Gia fell flat after being a highlight in 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. There was a lot to like, and man, did it deliver in the domestic and worldwide box office. However, for me, this movie was slightly underwhelming. On the I Love You 3000 scale, I'm giving it a 1710 out of 3000, which is a 57%.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Like, for me, it was just like, you're going to call it Godzilla X Kong. I want to see both.
Yeah, exactly. That was my problem with Batman versus Superman, which I love Batman. There was a good amount of Batman in it. Not enough
There was
Superman.
not enough Superman. Yeah.
At least in the theatrical release.
Yeah. Thank goodness for the Ultimate Edition.
Ultimate Edition's better. Still doesn't fix the problem entirely, but it is better.
It is better, for sure. Oh, man. Well, anyway, obviously you heard our score. Now it's time to play our favorite game in all of the Weekly Reel podcast lore, the Guess Rotten Tomato score. And so heading into this episode, Jeremy's a little bit on a hot streak. He's actually tied it after starting off a little slow. It's 3-3 heading into this week. And so Jeremy, I feel like this could go either way in terms of me being way off like last week, or it could be really close like it usually is between the two of us. And so What was your guess for Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire?
Okay, my guess is pretty similar to my I Love You 3000. I'm going 52%.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think we're thinking along the same lines here, because my guess is along the same lines as my I Love You 3000.
Oh,
I'm guessing 58%.
oh shoot. Both of us just bumped it up a little
Just
bit.
bumped it a little bit, yeah. Because I figured it was on the cusp of being fresh, but critics will kind of knock it down a peg to be slightly below it. So
Okay. All right. Let me bring up the Rotten Tomatoes. Gotta share my screen. And it is, where is it? Currently sitting at a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes with 197 reviews. Yep.
Nice. Oh my goodness. So the streak continues with Jeremy's guess of 52%. Man, I was a little closer this week, at least slowly honing in back. I guess the Rotten Tomatoes scoring, my guessing anyway. But Jeremy takes another week. And so now he has pulled ahead for the first time in season 7. He is now up 4-3 heading
Yeah.
into next week.
Well, first, I want to mention Sean saying critics were bugging at Rotten Tomatoes, crying emojis, sticking with the audience at 90-ish. 90s I reserve for pretty good movies. Dune didn't even make it got like an 86 from me. I think it got like a 90 from Jacob. So,
I could see why it could be that high, just because
that's true for
um
audience generally. I can see
yeah, audience just wants to just enjoy and have popcorn. This is truly a popcorn flick.
it. Yeah. True, but even from my monster movies, I expect a little bit more. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we've gotten way more duds this year than we've had good movies. I think I've only liked one movie. Is that right? No, 2 movies. I
Yeah.
liked Anyone But You.
Okay. Yeah, I liked Anyone But You. Dune, kind of. And I'm just kidding. No, I
You
did
like
like Dune.
Road.
I did. And I like Roadhouse.
You like
So
Roadhouse. I remember you like Roadhouse more than I did. But
yeah.
those were the previous weeks, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to preview what we have going on next week for our live stream?
Yes, next week, a young man unleashes a campaign of vengeance against corrupt leaders who have wronged him and continue to systematically victimize the poor and powerless. Yes, I kind of read that off of IMDb. I could not write that myself, but because I honestly wanted to go into this movie as blind as possible, that we are watching Monkey Man 2024.
Yes, and I mean wait, is it out today? I could have sworn I saw a release date of April 3rd.
Oh, possible.
Did I read that wrong?
For some reason, at least in our area, it's going to be tomorrow on
Oh, is
Thursday,
it?
the 4th.
Okay.
Could be in other areas. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, by the time this movie comes out, or I'm sorry, this episode comes out, this podcast episode, Monkey Man will be out in theaters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. So definitely check it out this weekend. That way, during next week's live stream, same time, same place, same time-ish, well, depending on our work schedules. But next Wednesday on the 10th, we will be having our live stream on Monkey Man. So check it out so that you can then join this awesome live stream format that we do have on a little format called YouTube. And so speaking of socials and formats and everything, Jeremy, where can they subscribe?
Yeah, because if you're not just listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that stuff, you can watch us on YouTube, whether it be live or watching the kind of cut up episodes on our YouTube channel. Not at, well, you can search us, the Weekly Reel Podcast, on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe there. Hit the bell notification so we put our posts, our in terms of letting people know when the next live stream is going to be happening. You'll get that notification if you hit the bell, subscribe, and you'll get all up to date on that. So if you're on YouTube, you actually watch it first before everyone gets to listen to it.
Yes, you can. And so speaking of where we post stuff, we normally post on Instagram at Weekly Reel. Today, notwithstanding, since Zuckerberg needs to get his stuff together, Instagram was down, along with what was that? What's that messaging app? WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, yeah.
Yeah, both formats were down for large portions of today, so it was a little challenging getting today's live stream link out. Was only able to get it out a couple hours in advance. So, do better, Zuckerberg. But yeah, follow at Weekly Reel. Usually when it's up and running, we have short clips of the actual podcast episode that that you could check out. If you like what you see, check out the full episode on again YouTube or your favorite podcast streaming app. Also, follow us on TikTok at Weekly Reel Pod. that's where we get a little creative with some of our edits from these episodes, and I take a little bit of pride in thinking of creative ways to kind of present some of our content for you fine people that are audience that have been supporting us now for almost 4 years. So again, thank you again for following us on our socials, and yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel, just like Jeremy said, because that's where we're trying to steer people towards.
Yes, because we want to talk to all of you, not just Sean who keeps commenting in the comments, which we love Sean,
We
but we
love
want to
Sean.
talk to everyone else as well.
We couldn't do without you, Sean. Speaking of Sean,
Yeah.
we got
He
another comment.
he said the other movie being the greatest movie of all time, Madam Web. Yes, that was our season 7 opener. Who could
Yes.
forget?
How can I forget? That was my bad. Yeah, that was my favorite too. But yeah, thank you, Sean, and obviously everyone who was on today's live stream for part 1, where we discussed Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Stay tuned. I mean, if you're on the podcast right or on the live stream right now, stay tuned. We're gonna take a quick break. We do have a part 2 for you with the soup du jour. We got something new cooking up for you, where we're going to be talking about some modern kaiju films. So kind of keep that in mind as we have this quick little break and kind of recharge the batteries, so that we can get part 2 out for you guys, just to entertain you guys. And so check out, before we close this part 1 out, check out last week's episode, which was on Roadhouse. It is now streaming on YouTube, and also streaming on your favorite podcast app like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as Jeremy mentioned, please watch Monkey Man. Support your local movie theater. Watch it in theaters this weekend, actually starting tomorrow, and so that you can join next week's YouTube live stream. And so for those of you who are listening on your favorite podcast app, we'll see you next week on The Reel.